So I've known about Boneworks for a while now. I've played through the game several times and not just finished it, but obliterated. I was one of the people that was actually super hyped for the release of the game and where Stress Level 0 would take it and VR. I watched the beta videos that they had on the Node channel, and I've been a huge fan of the groups Node, Corridor, and Freddy W, which is now named Rocket Jump, as well as watched the groups slowly come into their own respective roles as larger brands in the media world. I've basically been watching all of these channels since the early 2010s. And I know I'm technically claiming that I was there from the start, so as a rebuttal, here's a picture that has nothing to do with the video whatsoever. I just want to say that Boneworks as a base game is absolutely phenomenal. As I've previously mentioned in the last video, it's one of the staples in VR as a phenomenal example of the use of physics. And with the upcoming release of Bonelab, I truly became excited to the point where I started to boot up Boneworks again. Boneworks, from a viewer's perspective, might only look like a tech demo, but it is much, much more than that. This entire time I've known about the mods for it, because I also mod the fuck out of Blade and Sorcery.
Don't make me take your hand off.
Cut his arms off.
Take his hands.
Make him a nugget.
Jesus.
But I just never got around to it. Now you might be saying that this is a super late review since Boneworks came out in 2020, and although this isn't the first review of the game, you haven't heard me talk about it. Fast forward till now. I decided to buy one of my friends this amazing game because he just recently got into VR and I decided, well damn, those TikToks that I've been seeing on Boneworks multiplayer, first of all, leave me the fuck alone, my For You page, look really, really fun. We should play together. And I think Boneworks is just a really good experience for any sort of VR enthusiast. It reignited my love for Boneworks, and the community has somehow managed to mod Boneworks multiplayer so well that there's now multiple fully physical characters. I think you could actually have maybe up to a lobby of about 16 in the world, but it's crazy. The fact that I could take something as simple as a frying pan and actually bonk it against my friend's head, and the impact is as accurate as it would be in real life, without the head trauma of course, is so satisfying for some reason. Just watching two fully physical objects interact with each other that's completely out of your control makes sense is just mind-blowing to me. Maybe it's because we haven't had anything this advanced in a while. It brings another level of interactiveness and even critical thinking that I didn't even think would be a factor in the game. Now, hear me out. Does it make the challenge of fighting enemies and solving puzzles slightly easier? Yeah, no shit. But at the same time, it pokes at my creativity for newer and unique methods to approaching the game now that there's multiple of you in one session. Now, in saying this, the mod is not perfect, especially since the game wasn't necessarily made to be multiplayer, so there are some hiccups to it. Yet for being a mod, it's truly impressive for how well it works. Some of the consistent issues that tend to come up are sometimes when we both don't observe somebody opening a crate, then the items in the crate disappear for the other player. As well as sometimes the weapons that the other player picks up are locked to a specific player, so like I wouldn't be able to pick up my buddy's rifle after he picked it up. Only sometimes. It was a weird kind of like scramble with things. Yet, all those things can easily be worked around with. Kind of like when you're playing Borderlands and you have like competitive loot on as opposed to collaborative loot. And it kind of brought like a nice little spin and a challenge to the game since you wouldn't necessarily attain every single weapon. As well as you just got to see a lot more weapons be used since Ford can only carry up to 4 weapons, so you were always interchanging a bunch all the time. Yet the biggest issue so far might be in some cases where the objects won't work for both players. For example, there was a moving platform that was supposed to launch my buddy and I into another landing, and it only worked for 1 player since the game was clearly not made for 2. Now, some might look at that as a negative moment since the game didn't necessarily work as hoped. Yet this actually sparked a moment of creativity for my buddy Rogue and I. I would seem to kind of glitch out of the spot every single time I actually tried to click the button, and it would like weirdly do a half launch and not necessarily send me as far as it needed to. Yet for him, it worked perfectly since he was the first one to go. So we had the bright idea that I should mount his head while he clicks the platform. And just because of that, it sent us both flying towards the platform. Him even farther than I was supposed to go, but me, I perfectly landed on the platform that I needed to go on in the first place. It's so stupid, but so funny that somehow in my wildest dreams, I would have never imagined this happening. Especially in a game with physics as good as Boneworks.
Oh, I don't have any ammo. Oh, I dropped the pistol.
Oh my god, bro, that is so anticlimactic. Let's go, it works. I think the fact that Stress Level 0 had made a creative choice to implement a fully physical body in a 3D space really helps create a more believable and easier to handle method in terms of making a multiplayer mod, because I'm not so certain how they would be able to do the same with a game like Half-Life Alyx. since it's literally just hands. It was truly mind-blowing to me that I was able to throw a magazine to somebody else in slow motion, and they were able to receive it and load it into their own gun. Although there might be a few kinks to work out since it's a mod, Boneworks is almost perfectly done to have a lobby of multiple players. And one thing that I was actually worried about was the slow motion. So I was wondering if I was the one to click the slow motion button, would that make everybody slow? Yet it actually seemed to make everything except for my friends slow. So it actually ended up being a lot better than I expected. Now, one other thing that downloading the multiplayer mod introduced me to was mods. Never in my life did I think that I'd be fighting virtual reality headsets in virtual reality dressed up as Master Chief with banana guns. And yet that's exactly what I'm doing, fucking shit up with banana Glocks. The seemingly limitless options of different types of mods in this game are actually insane. To the point where the community has made drivable vehicles, like an entire Pelican from Halo.
Hey, I assume that it's gonna be a little big, so I gave myself a bit of space. Jesus Christ!
Pause. I just want to give you a warning ahead of time that I'm going to spend the next minute and a half just gushing over Halo, so just bear with me, please.
I feel like, there's only one song that can actually be played while I'm dressed as Master Chief flying a fucking Pelican. I think I'm a very simple person to make happy. You just tend to make anything Halo related. Oh my goodness. Push button pull handle. This is all so crazy. There's no way it actually has a fucking camera out of the back. Okay, the fact that my laser, this is actually a live camera. Toggle door. Oh, that's so cool! Oh my god, this is so cool! Music on. Oh, it knows. I didn't even have to. It knows, dude. I didn't even have to edit this in the video right now. Damn it, I clipped the wing. You just ruined my epicness. Hold the fuck up.
Yes, I'm a Halo fanboy, leave me alone. But the fact that for years, we never got to drive these babies in the actual Halo games, until 4, I can actually drive one in VR is absolutely mind-blowing. It seemed to tickle my brain in a way that nothing else has ever done in my entire life, I think. They add a lot of cosmetic and quality of life mods to the game, like revamping the combat system, similar to how Blade and Sorcery's mods are as well. But this just made the game that much better and accessible and playable to others. Now, if you have an optimal VR headset and you somehow haven't purchased Boneworks, because let's be real here, it's been 2 years that this game has been out, basically. Then let this be a message to get the fucking game, dude. Granted, although the game has been out for almost 2 years, I'm not necessarily certain how long this multiplayer mod has been out for. Clearly not as long. I highly recommend that once you've actually finished the game, you go ahead and do a second run through with a friend. Because it has been such a blast to play with people, but at the same time, flex your creative muscles a little bit to see how a collaborative effort can either make one of the puzzles in the game easier or even more challenging. We even decided at one point to stop playing the campaign and just do Spider-Man hide and seek since we both installed web slinging mods. It's just that the options with mods are limitless.
Is this what Mary Jane's POV is like? Oh my god. I completely understand why Zendaya was screaming.
Although Boneworks has been a phenomenal game for VR, I believe BONELABS is going to be the game to revolutionize the virtual reality industry. I just want to say thank you for watching the video. I hope you were at least mildly entertained by the video in the first place. And yeah, please like, commit, leave.